Today you're going to learn basic methods of holding yarn, holding your hook, and how to single crochet rows. For this tutorial, you're going to need some yarn. This one is 100% acrylic, 4-ply, and a lighter color is recommended. You're going to need a crochet hook. This one is aluminum, 5 millimeters, although you could use a 5.5 or a 4.5, whichever you're comfortable with, and a pair of scissors. Let's get started. Okay, so what I want to show you is how to create your first loop. But before we do that, I want to explain to you why I asked you to use a lighter yarn. So the reason is just very simple. It's because the darker the yarn, the harder it is to see your stitches. And I'm assuming that you're watching my video because you are at the very beginning stages of learning how to crochet. And why make it harder for yourself? Just pick a lighter yarn and it'll be easier to see. It's that simple. Okay, so moving on. I'm going to show you now how to make that loop, and you're simply just going to lay that yarn over top of your hand, and with the string that's attached to the ball, just wrap it loosely around your first 2 fingers, push that through, and give it a pull. There you go. That easy. And obviously now this loop is way too big to crochet or do anything with, so we're going to make that smaller. It's very easy. You simply insert your hook and you pull on the bottom 2 strings, and there you have it. Now you're ready to crochet. So you'll know if you pull too tightly because your hook will not be moving freely through, and if you've pulled too loosely you're going to have a large gap. So just something that's snug and easy to work through. So the next thing I want to show you is how to hold your yarn. Now, there are many different ways to do this. I'm going to show you my way. It's not necessarily the right way or the wrong way. It's just the way that I teach it and I've always taught it. And that is, you take your first 2 fingers like scissors and you put the yarn through, and about there in the middle between your knuckle and first bend there, joint there, and you just scissor that together. Then with your hand flat, you simply turn your hand over, and then naturally the middle finger and the thumb kind of fall into place and hold that loop on your hook. So then you have this whole string here, this yarn to work with. Now the tension part of it when it comes into play, and I'll be doing another video on that because there's a lot to go over with tension. And right now we're just trying to teach you the stitches and how to do it, and then we can work with your tension after. But again, scissor that together, turn it over, hold with your middle finger and your thumb. And the idea of holding it here is that you can hold it tighter together or looser if you need to let that string flow through your fingers. And that's the tension part of it. Tension can be a little bit difficult to grasp, but it's not that tough. You just need to practice a little bit and it'll be like second nature before no time. Okay, so the next thing I want to show you is how to hold the hook. Now, how I hold my hook is with this hook facing downwards, my thumb is going underneath there and my first finger is going on top, and I'm just loosely grasping it around. So I don't necessarily use my wrist in a lot of the work when I'm crocheting, otherwise you're going to get a very sore wrist. So as long as you can remember that finger placement, you can turn your hook back and forth, back and forth. Some people hold their hooks like this. Some people take the yarn and wrap it around. So there's all different ways, but this is the way I do it. Scissor that, turn it over, hold with my middle and thumb, with this facing down, thumb, finger, and gently wrap around it. Now you'll see that this string here is a little bit taut. It's not too tight, it's not too loose, and you'll get the hang of that as you go. But what you're going to do is you're going to, with your hook facing upwards, go underneath that string, and you'll see that it's still facing upwards. Now you're going to turn your hook down so it's facing below, and you're simply just going to pull that string right through that chain. Oops, and it fell off. And that's your first chain. And then you'll notice what I do is I creep up with my middle finger and my thumb, and as I'm crocheting, I'm creeping up along the work to have a better hold on that and better tension. Okay, so now with my hook facing upwards, I'm going underneath, I'm turning the hook down and pulling through. That's number 2. And then as I pull it through, my hook is naturally going back up to get ready to pull again, or to grab that string again. So grabbing it, going down, 3. And here's where I'll move my middle finger and thumb to hold that loop. And again, upwards, underneath, grabbing that string, putting it down, pulling it through. 4. Hook up, going underneath, wrapping it around, hook down, pulling through. 5. Moving my middle finger and my thumb along the work. The hook is up, underneath, wrapping around, putting that hook down, grabbing it. 6. And now it's upwards again, wrapping around, positioning that hook to go down, pulling it through. 7. And I'm moving my fingers along the work, and hook is up, underneath, grabbing that, positioning it down, pulling through. 8. And again. 9. Moving along. 10. And 11. There you have it. Your first chain of 11. So the next thing I'm going to do is show you these stitches and what it consists of. So each chain has a top stitch and a bottom stitch, and they also have a back stitch underneath. And what I'm going to do when we're working along our crochet chain is I'm going to be using the top stitches. So you'll see that very top of each stitch here. That's what we'll be inserting our hook into along the chain. Okay, so get yourself set up again. And now we're not going to be holding our middle finger and thumb so tightly to the bottom of this hook. We're actually going to go a little bit below because we need to find that second chain. We're not going to put it in this very, very first one that we just did, but the next one beside it. And our hook is going to go in that top stitch. So it looks like that. There's going to be the 2 on your hook, the 2 loops on your hook. Now, my hook is faced downwards at this stage. And all I'm doing is I'm just grabbing it. I'm going underneath and around the top and just grabbing it and pulling it through one of those loops only. Then my hook is facing now upwards, and here's where I'm going to be going underneath the yarn over. This is called yarn over. Going underneath, and my hook is up. I'm grabbing that, the hook is going down, and I'm pulling through the 2 stitches. that is a single crochet. Now, I understand that's probably a really tough way to follow along right now because it seems to be choppy the way I'm explaining it. So let's just keep going. Don't give up. The hardest part of crocheting I found, and even today now, after doing it for, well, I don't know, 30 years or so, it's still that second chain or that second row. That second row is always tough for me, and if you can make it through that second row, you can finish your work. It will be fine. So just tough it out and you can get it. Okay, so positioning myself again. And now we're going into that next top stitch beside where we just went in. So all we're doing is we're inserting our hook, and our hook's facing down, and just grabbing it from behind, pulling it through one, and then you're left with 2 loops on your hook. Now your hook facing upwards, going underneath, grabbing that, turning your hook down, and pulling through 2. That is your second single crochet. Next, we're going to do the same thing. Insert our hook right in that top stitch, pull it through, grab it from behind, and you have 2 on your hook. And then underneath, you're going to wrap around, twist that crochet hook downwards, and you're going to pull through the 2 loops on your hook. 3 crochet, single crochet. So again, we're going to insert our hook in the next one beside in the top. Just grab that yarn and pull through. There's 2 on your hook. Underneath, we're going to yarn over. And you're going to turn that hook to grab that yarn and pull through the 2. And you'll notice that you're probably getting a little bit of more of a motion as you go. That's easier. So again, put it through that top one on the next stitch over, grab it. Your hook's naturally going upwards. Yarn over, grab it, turn it down, pull through 2. Again, let's just move along. 2 on there, grabbing that, turning down, pull through 2. Next stitch over, just push that through, grab it and pull through. 2 on your hook, go underneath, through yarn over, turn your hook, pull through 2. Again, push through that next stitch, pull the yarn through, 2 on your hook, hook facing upwards, you're going to yarn over to grab that yarn, turn that hook down, and pull through the 2. Okay, again, grab it, pull it through, yarn over, pull through the 2. And now we're at the last one on the hook, and we're going to do the exact same thing. Insert that hook in there, grab that yarn, pull it through, underneath, turn your hook, pull through 2. There you have 10 single crochet. So if you were able to go through that chain a little bit with ease, then likely your tension was not too tight. If it was too loose, you're going to see gaps. And that's okay, because tension's a hard thing sometimes to grasp in the very beginning. So if you have done that where it's too loose or too tight, if you can carry on with your work. Don't redo it. Just keep going and keep going, because eventually the more you practice, the more you'll get it. And it's part of the learning process. So the next thing we're going to do is we need to work the second row. So to do that, we're going to chain 1. So if you remember, chain 1 is just with your hook facing upwards, go underneath, and you're grabbing that yarn, turning your hook down and pulling it through. There's your chain 1. And now you'll notice in patterns when you start reading them, it will say turn your work. And what that means is this, just simply turn your work. We're working always from this side to this side. So this part here is considered the front side of your work, and this is considered the back side of your work. And you'll see that it looks slightly different. It looks a little more pearly on the back, and the front looks like crochet would normally look. Okay, so now we have that chain 1. And here we're going to be working in these stitches along the top. So here's where, when you get past that second row, things get easier. It's easier to see your stitches. It's easier for your hook to go through. So just carry on. So what we're going to do now is we're taking our hook and we're actually putting it through the 2 stitches. So on the top, you're going to see the V's. I think you can see that. And we're working just straight through there. Okay, so get yourself set up again. And my finger placement here is my middle finger and my thumb are just below where I need to insert my hook now. And with my hook, I'm just, with it facing upwards, I'm going to insert it into that chain. So what I do is I actually hold with my other finger, with my first finger, I hold that that loop that's on my hook, and it just helps. I don't know if it's something that people generally do, but I like to teach it this way because it just gives you a better control over your work, really. So just simply insert that hook, you can let go and grab that yarn and pull it through. So again, you have the 2 on your hook, and then underneath you're going to yarn over with that hook facing up, turn it down and pull through the 2, and that is a single crochet. And so we're going to do that single crochet along the entire top here. And so that's 1. I recommend in the beginning, especially for beginner crocheters, and even myself, I do it after this long, to count how many stitches you're doing, because it's very easy to lose track. Okay, so next is we have our hook facing upwards in that next V stitch. So you'll see the V at the top. We're going through those 2. We're just simply grabbing that yarn, pulling it through, and there's 2 on your hook. It's facing upwards. We're going underneath for yarn over, grabbing that yarn, pulling our hook down, and pulling it through the 2. That's 2 single crochet. And the next, insert your hook into that next V stitch and grab the yarn, pull it through, and you have the 2 on your hook. Yarn over, go underneath with your hook facing up, turn it down, and pull through the 2. That's 3. Now I'm saying it's a V stitch. It's not actually called a V stitch. It's just I'm trying to explain to you we're going in that V, and it's just a stitch. So if you're looking for on patterns where a V stitch is, you're not going to find it. That's just me trying to explain that to you. Okay, so the next stitch that we're going into, we're going to insert our hook. Just grab that yarn, pull through, 2 on the hook, hook facing upwards, underneath for yarn over. You're going to grab that by putting your hook down and going through the 2. And we're going to do that along the entire row. Go through that stitch, pull it through, 2 on the hook, yarn over, pull through. again. Okay, insert into the next space or stitch, grab that yarn, pull it through, 2 on your hook, yarn over, hook's facing up, now it's facing down, and you're pulling through. Next stitch, push it through, grab that yarn, 2 on your hook, grab the yarn, and now you're facing it down, going through. Push through the next one, grab the yarn, 2 on your hook, yarn over by going underneath, hooks facing up, hooks facing down, pulling through. And the very last stitch. The last stitch of the row may always be a little more difficult, but you can get through this. Okay, so with the hook facing down, try to find that end one. You might need to wiggle it in there a little bit, and that's okay. Grab that yarn, pull it through. You have 2 on your hook. With your hook facing upwards, yarn over. Now grabbing it, hook facing downwards, and pulling it through. There's your 10 single crochet on your second row. And so what we're going to show you one more row. We're going to do this again. Chain 1, always chain 1, turn your work. And now we're going to go through the row again. In that very first stitch there, you're going to insert your hook, grab the yarn, pull it through. You have 2 on your hook, yarn over, grab the yarn, hook facing down, pull it through. Single crochet. So you're going through the next stitch. Put your yarn through, or your hook through, grab that yarn, 2 on your hook. Now a yarn over where we go underneath with the hook facing up, hook facing down, grab the yarn, pull through 2. And by this time you should be starting to get in the next, if not by this row, then the next few rows, a little bit more of a flow going for you to just grab and pull through. So hooks facing down, going through, grabbing that yarn, 2 on the hook, underneath, hook up, hook down, pull through. So you'll get your little system going, or you can just go through it a little bit easier. And don't be afraid to practice a lot. I practiced a lot in the beginning. I was very young when my grandma taught me, and she made us go through an entire ball of yarn of just chaining before I was even allowed to go on to the second row. And then finally when I got that, it was second, third, fourth, and I used the same ball of yarn over and over and over until I couldn't anymore. And that's pretty much how I learned. So there we go. There we have it. I hope this tutorial was helpful for you, and if you liked this tutorial, don't forget to subscribe and like this video, and if you want, leave in the comments below of other ideas and other things that you want me to show you, and I can make future videos on that. Thanks for watching.